James Tobin here, home cook. During COVID times, everyone's been making their own bread. Sourdough, it's pretty involved. I've got a simple 5 ingredients bread. It's a focaccia, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna use up some of the food that we've got in the fridge, reducing food wastage to make a bit of a fancy pizza. I did grow up loving watching food TV shows, so it is an honor to be here talking about food for Oz Harvest. So, to start, let's make the focaccia. You just need 1 1/3 cups of warm water. We're gonna put in 2 teaspoons of sugar. You can use honey. And then here we've got 1 packet of active dry yeast. Give that a little bit of a stir. Just gonna leave that for just a couple of minutes until you start to see bubbles forming. Okay, we've got the bubbles happening now. So we're gonna add 3.5 cups of plain all-purpose flour. That's 1, 2, 3. Next, 1/4 cup of oil. And 2 teaspoons of salt. And then we get our hands dirty. So we're just gonna combine all the ingredients and then we're gonna let it rest in the bowl covered for at least a few hours, ideally overnight. This has been resting in the fridge overnight and it's risen, as you can see. So now I'm gonna take that out and into a oiled tin, just gonna spread that out so it's taking up the entire tin. I'm just gonna cover it and I'm gonna let that rest for another 30 minutes. This recipe is about resting. 3 rest spots, and it's because you're dealing with dough. That's been resting for half an hour. So now we're gonna use our fingers to put the dimples, like you see in focaccia, and I'm gonna drizzle it with olive oil. A sprinkle of sea salt, and now comes the fun part, toppings. So I'm gonna start with some rosemary that I've taken from the garden. I'm just gonna rip it straight off there and put it on. Now I'm gonna use some pickled onion, just some little slithers. It's just a lovely flavor to include. These are some tomatoes I roasted earlier this morning, just to get that little bit of roasted tomato flavor out of them. I'm just gonna take a few of them. I love chili, so I would never make a pizza without it. And then the cheese. And that is ready for the oven. Now you wanna put it in a really hot oven. Mine goes up to 250 degrees. I'm gonna put it in for 20 minutes and then check on it. Have a look at that, golden brown and delicious. So I'm going to take that out, put it on a rack to rest for 5 minutes, if you can resist. All that's left is the prosciutto. Rip this prosciutto and put it on while the pizza's still hot and delicious. My mouth is watering. Talking about food for Oz Harvest, there are over 1 million Australians who are struggling just to put food on the table. So ozharvest.org if you can help, because $1 will provide 2 meals for someone in need.